I'm doing another meeting here, so.
Okay, adios, guys. I like that you got a new microphone. That will really help because my biggest feedback, I love listening to your meetings.
Yeah.
But your other microphone like would auto adjust or something.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah. Hey guys. That was excited.
It's not showing my camera though.
What happened?
Oh.
There it goes.
Up. Good morning.
Morning. Looks like Dallas is in San Francisco. Nice.
Oh yeah. I was gonna take a little trip. Oh shit! On my new computer, I don't have the space background no more. Oh well.
Hey, no cussing. This is for posterity's sake.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Are we ready?
Not yet.
Yeah. Well, maybe give it like 2 or 3 more minutes. Let a few more people log in, and then yeah, don't wait any longer than that. Since
okay. So I'm gonna go grab something real quick. I'll be right back. So give me.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, Louie. Paul, you're on video finally. What's up, brother? What's up, Ted, Ryan, Dallas?
Yeah, watched a few YouTube channels, turned a few things on, turned a few things off, and something worked apparently.
Nice.
So,
yeah, we're all gonna learn this. We're forced to now.
As temporary hospitals to treat non-COVID-19 patients, freeing up additional space and expanding capacity in land-based hospitals. Although the supply chain...
Johnny?
What?
Somebody had COVID something on.
Oh, no, not me.
I heard. Is that part of the meeting? I don't want to hear it.
I know, right?
Had enough of that already, please.
Yep. Yeah.
what's COVID-19? Is that new indie rock band I've been hearing about?
Everybody have a good weekend. What'd you guys do? Stay home?
Good weekend.
All right, you tell me when you're ready, Donnie.
I say go ahead and run with it. Since we're recording, anybody who gets on late or misses it, we'll just throw it up for them to watch later.
Okay. Cool. Let's see. Let's do this. I'm gonna make this a little different. Whoops. Just that, just so I can. That way it's more up front and this. Okay, I'm just going to be writing things down as we're talking about this, but so welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about how to have a difficult conversation or a crucial conversation. And I want to begin by saying that what we're going to be giving you today is a framework of how to have any conversation. It doesn't have to be a conversation that's that is just in business. It's a framework of when you feel nervous to talk to somebody, when you feel like that you are putting off a conversation, that's how you know you have this is a difficult or a crucial conversation. And this has taken me years. I feel like I still haven't even mastered it, but I've been studying it for years and practicing it for years. And So today, as I share with you some of the things in regards to a crucial conversation, there's actually a book written by Joseph Brandy called Crucial Conversations. I kind of take some of the stuff that he says. I'm kind of mixing a couple of things that I've learned from Tony Robbins and what Joseph Grenny says. And so I'm kind of using that. That's why sometimes I refer to it as a difficult conversation, because I'm not using either one. It's a merging of two approaches. So the first thing to tell you is that a difficult conversation or a crucial conversation is any conversation that is high stakes, high emotions, and has opposing opinion. So I'd write this down: high stakes, high emotions, opposing opinion. So any conversation that has one of those three elements is a crucial conversation. It's a conversation, again, as I said just a minute ago, it's a conversation that, because it's high stake, high emotion, and the opinions are opposing, you're putting the conversation off. Or when that person calls, you're like, I don't want to take this phone call right now. And so you actively, decline the call or let it ring and go to voicemail because you're not ready to talk to them. So why you're not ready to talk to them is because you know that there is not safety in that conversation. And why you're having a difficult time wanting to talk to them is because you know that there has been a disruption in the safety, and the safety is defined as mutual purpose. So let me say it this way. A mutual purpose is when two people come together in a relationship because one person wants to accomplish A and another person wants to accomplish B, and they know that they're who they are, whether it's skills or marriage or whatever it might be, but skills in business or personality and to create a marriage. But you come together so that both purposes can be accomplished. And you agree upon why you're coming together. So in your world, what it looks like is a buyer or a seller. You met with them, you gave them your spiel. They liked you, they thought you were great, that you had the skill sets to accomplish what they wanted. And let's just say in this case was they want to sell their house because they want to go and buy their dream house. They want to get the equity out, and they're really close to retirement. They just want to go buy a house where he's going to finish out the rest of their lives. So they meet with you. You go to this listing appointment, and you do such a great job. They can see that who you are is exactly the person they need to accomplish their goal. Make sense? And and so that's why they picked you. And why are you willing to do it? Because you saw them as the person, they're selling their house for $600,000, and you want that commission check because that is how you provide for your family. So you have your purpose, they have their purpose, and you see there's an alignment to it. Now, is selling a house high stakes? Is selling a house high stakes? Is that high emotion? And when you sell a house, is there opposing opinions? So again, the author, Joseph, doesn't say this, but I say this. So you have like the most crucial of crucial conversations because it fits all three criteria. And not only do you have opposing opinions, but it kind of has multiplied because you're representing the seller. Well, the buyer has their real estate agent. The seller has their title company. In most cases, the buyer has their own title company. The buyer has a loan officer. and all these people are on one team and these guys are on another team, and there's an alignment of how it should happen, but everybody's perspective is a little bit different. And so there's bound to be a lot of opposing opinions. So not only that, but then you have an appraiser who's going to oppose, who's going to be a possible opposing opinion. Then you have a loan officer. Then you have the underwriter of the loan who might be opposing that opinion of the qualification of the buyer. See what I'm saying? So you have this potential to have a lot of turbulence in this transaction. And your ability to navigate these potential hazards is really the quality of the experience that your seller is going to experience. So first thing, knowing, and again, so knowing that you're going to be going into a crucial conversation, and how long does this conversation last? This isn't a one and done, because this whole experience is a crucial conversation, even if it's good news. Every conversation has high stakes because of the nature of what it is. So there's no letting your guard down and just being whimsical in a conversation. Every conversation you have with your clients has to be, I'm going to say calculated, but has to have a clear intention of what you're conveying. Because when you get overly optimistic because things are going well, that sets you up for that when there's just the slightest bit of a hiccup to create a distrust between you and the seller. So again, the author doesn't say this, but I'm saying this. In order to navigate a crucial conversation, you know you're going to have one. So up front, set expectations of how the transaction is going to go in a realistic way. Meaning, explain to them. Like an airline pilot would say, thank you for flying with Delta. We're going to be taking off here in a few minutes. We're going to be rising to 30,000 feet. We do expect some turbulence along the way. And when we get to a point where we're going to be experiencing that turbulence, I'm going to put on the seatbelt sign. And what I'm going to ask you to do is go back to your seat and buckle up and to prepare for this turbulence. We won't be serving drinks at this time, blah, 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 blah. Like he's saying all of those things, or she's saying all of those things. And I want you to notice that if the pilot never explained any of those things, and then all of a sudden there's turbulence, and then on the mic he was like, oh crap, there's this turbulence, hurry, run back to your seat, guys, hurry. You're going to be panicked. Because you're like, why didn't he anticipate this? What is happening? Flight attendants, get back, stop serving drinks, let's get, and he just starts commanding out these orders. Dude, it's going to scare the crap out of you. And the reason why it's going to scare you is because he didn't prepare you. So the number one thing that you're going to do in order to navigate your crucial conversations, because even the positive conversations are crucial, is set expectations. And those expectations, again, just think of your experience on the airline. They're going to be something like that. So notice too that when the greatest thing that you're going to do by setting those expectations is that you're going to create safety for them to discuss things when they feel like they're going wrong. How many of you have ever had a situation where the client was feeling something and then they finally call you and say, you know what, this has been a problem for 2 weeks now and I've been so upset by it. And you're like, why didn't you tell me this earlier? Why didn't you tell me this was happening? It's because there wasn't safety to begin that conversation. And they thought that, and they had noise in their head because something was showing up that you never told them about. And they thought that meant you were doing something wrong, or you were cheating them, or you were being dishonest or something. And they didn't know how to bring it up until finally got to a point they're like, I have to bring this up now. Does that make sense? So setting up that safety, and that safety, when you set that up, it sounds like something like this. Hey, I understand that we're going to be selling your house and blah, 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 blah for this and this and that. And why you want to do it is because you're going to be buying this house, you're going to be doing this. Here's what I want you to know. Tom and Lisa, if there is anything at any point in this process that you have noise in your head and you feel like, man, and it's on your mind and you can't sleep at night, I want you to talk to me in that moment. Like, I want you to send me a text or give me a call. If it was at night or something, just say, hey, I want to talk to you about this. I feel unsafe. I'm feeling worried. Can you help me through this? Right? You need to take a moment and educate them on how they're going to bring their concerns to you. What does that do for you? Well, it means that you're not going to get you're not going to get this, you're going to get, sideswiped by someone just calling you up and then randomly just unloading on you and telling you things that you weren't even prepared to receive. Make sense? So prepare them, teach them how to approach it, and just and let them know. And then you can even ask them and say, you know what? It's inevitable that something is going to be a little touch and go in this transaction. There always is. It's real estate. It's not like we're making, cheeseburgers. Like, it's not that simple. You can ask them, Tom and Lisa, when I have something that's going to be, that might create, that jeopardizes this mutual purpose, that jeopardizes this safety, how do you want me to approach you? I mean, imagine having this dialogue for 30 minutes at the beginning of every one of your transactions. Powerful. It creates a lot of security. It eliminates a lot of noise. Most times, who's been doing this business longer than 5 years? Just by a show of hands. Anybody? Longer than 5? Anybody longer than 3? Show of hands. Longer than 3. So here's my question. Have you ever had a situation where one of your clients had so much noise in their head that their concern wasn't even real? Like, it was just like made up? Like, by show of hands, how many of you have had this experience? Their concern was just so outlandish. You're like, where did you get that idea? So notice, I can tell you that was the result of not setting up a path for them to find safety in their relationship with you, because they just met you. That makes sense? And so you're helping them. So here's how this works. Once you've established that, here's what you need to know. When that mutual purpose, when something happens where that mutual purpose feels jeopardized, that's when safety has left the relationship. So when you hear of something, the buyer's deal, the buyer's loan is not happening or whatever, when safety has left that conversation, we go into fight or flight mode. And when we go into fight or flight mode, and it's easy to go into fight or flight mode because we're dealing with something high emotion, high stakes, and opposing opinions. When we go into fight or flight mode and safety is gone, we respond in one of two ways. We either go silent or we go violent. Violent is we label, blame, or justify. When someone goes violent, they are labeling, blaming, or justifying. They don't even have to be yelling. Sometimes we think of violent as like aggressive, and which that is a part of it, but it doesn't have to be that. Labeling, blaming, and justifying is violence. Or we respond by going silent, and silent just means a discontinuation of a dialogue. It means that you are that you have stopped talking, you're avoiding, right? And you guys instinctively know this. If you've called your client a couple times and they didn't pick up or text you back, they are scared. Chances are they're scared. And they have gone, something has happened in their conversation, in that, where they don't want to talk to you right now because they don't know how to do it. So when someone has gone, when safety is gone and someone is responding and being silent and violent, what you need to understand is they just need to be safe. I just need to create safety. And safety is always defined as the path, an agreed upon path back to the mutual purpose. That's all they want to know. What's the path back to achieving what we did? They don't care that you made the mistake. We often want to blame. We want to say, it was the loan officer's fault, or it was my assistant's fault, or the title company screwed this up. What they don't want to hear from you is your labeling, blaming, or justifying. Meaning, you picked the title company, you picked the loan officer, you picked you helped them to figure this out. So all you have to say is that you own it, that you say, yes, this is going wrong. And then you can explain, this is what sometimes happens. And people make mistakes, and it doesn't mean that they're a terrible person or a terrible company. We all make mistakes. You've probably made a mistake in your job in the last 3 months. It doesn't mean that you're terrible. Your boss wouldn't fire you for it. But it is a mistake. And tell me how you feel about it. Tell me what you're thinking. What's going on? And you listen to them. And then based upon your listening skills and you're hearing what they say, you create a mutual path back. How are you going to achieve that purpose? That's all they want to know. That makes sense? So I've told this story. I tell the story every time when I teach this class. And so I'm going to just share this with you. So a number of years ago, I was having a marketing meeting with Sue Cragen, who's our marketing director. And in the middle of our meeting, our office manager comes in, Jamie comes in, and I've worked with Jamie for more than a decade at this point. And Jamie comes in and she says, David's on the phone from XYZ Mortgage Company. He's over all of funding for XYZ Mortgage, and he is pissed. And he said to me that he is not going to allow Vangaurd Title to fund another deal, or to close another deal with them. He's so upset. You need to talk to him right now. And it's Monday morning. And I'm like, I hate this business. I hate it. I hate when problems like this happen. And I sit there and I tell Jamie, I just said, hey, Jamie, I'm going to need 10 minutes. Tell him I'll call him back in 10 minutes. And she's like, no, I don't want to. He's so upset. He's on the phone. He's on line 1. Just pick it up. I'm like, I need 10 minutes. Tell him I'll call him back. And joke, seriously, but jokingly, Jamie says, I hate you. I hate you when you make me do this. I hate this. And she walks away and she's, and so Sue and I begin to talk to go back into our conversation. And Sue says, hey, let's stop talking. Call him back. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Stay here when I call him. I want to be here. I want you to listen to this because it's going to be awesome. And she says, oh my gosh, I do not want to be here. No, I'm going to leave. You make the call. I'm leaving. I can't be here. She's like, do you know how many deals we do with that company? And if he stops us from closing transactions with us, we're going to have to talk to all these agents. She's like, we close more than 100 deals a month with this lender because of how many agents use them and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, so Sue leaves. Sue's like, I'm going to leave. You have this conversation. I can't be here. I'm way too nervous for it. And I jokingly tell Sue that she left me in my darkest hour. I'm like, here you are, you're supposed to be my friend. I'm like, but when things get high stake enough and there's enough opposing opinions, like people leave. They don't want to be around because they get scared. Like literally she walked out because she did not want to be there. So in this moment, when safety is gone and we go and we go into fight or flight mode, we start labeling, blaming, and justifying. And the reason why we start to do this is because when safety is gone, we begin to tell ourselves a story of what is happening and why the situation is currently where it's at in that moment. We start telling ourselves a story of he must have or she must have lied to me. She must be trying to make, doing whatever, or she must have made this mistake and not wanting to talk about it. And so she's doing, whatever. So we start making a story in our mind. And when we make up the story, sorry, I'm getting this. When we make up the story, it starts to enhance our fight or flight mode and to exacerbate it. And then the story starts to go up and up and up. Well, the story in my head at this moment, after Sue left, I took a few minutes and was just sitting there, and I'm just like, and I kind of got stuck in the story. And the story in my mind was, we must have made it $50,000. Somebody lost $50,000 in this transaction because the deadline wasn't met or something. Something happened, but it resulted in a $50,000 loss. And the agent or the buyer is making the lender pay for it, and the lender, they're having to pay this, and if they're going to pay this $50,000 loss, then they'll never use us again as a title company. That's the story in my head. And I started to get upset as I started to think about this. I'm like, who do they think they are? Like, there's no way we did it. There's no way we're responsible for this. I know it happened. We're getting blamed for something that we didn't even do. Somebody set up an unrealistic expectation. We said, and trying to appease them, said, okay, yeah, we'll try to do that. And then we didn't do it. And the expectation was something like, we got docs late. They wanted us to close at 8:30 at night or 10 o'clock at night. And then they said, we need the docs back by 8 a.m. the next morning in order for the deal to fund. And if we don't have docs back before 8 a.m., then they lose their lock, or the money goes hard, or the deal, the deal's not going to fund or whatever. And so we did that. We went and we closed at 10 o'clock at night, and then we got the docs back at 8:05, and now the deal's dead, and we owe them $50,000. That's the story in my head. Something I didn't mention, when Jamie came in and told me that was happening, she goes, do you want to know what's going on? And I said, no, I don't. And the reason why I didn't want to know, because I knew that if she were to tell me, because I was pretty upset that this was happening already, when she said it, I kind of like, it just kicked me into that higher, that like, oh crap, what's happening? And then my mind started spinning. I thought, if you tell me what happened, I will be so mad, and it's probably not even our fault. And then if I go to talk to this guy, I'm going to just freaking, I'm not going to be able to even handle myself and having a rational, productive conversation with this guy. And so I told Jamie, I'm like, no, I don't even want to know. I'll just figure it out then. And anyway, so I'm stuck in my head, and I'm thinking this, and my heart is pounding, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I am not paying that $50,000. That is ridiculous. So when you're in fight or flight mode, or when you're in a situation where you're not safe, what you need to do is to get back to safety yourself first, is to start, and Joseph calls it starting with your heart, or start with heart. And he says, you need to be able to connect to your heart and to know what's real and who you are, and to be in alignment with who you are in your heart. So if I were you, I would write down, when I feel scared to have a conversation, something like this, I need to start with my heart and to rediscover what's real about this person and about this, why our relationship and why we've come together. So here's what starting with your heart sounds like. Here's what I experienced that morning. I sat there, and on a little piece of paper I wrote, I just wrote $, 50K, question mark, just like, oh, I can't believe this. And then I thought, how am I going to get through this? And I thought, I'm going to get through this. I know I'll get through this when I'm just honest and when I just act in harmony with who I really am and what I really believe about any situation like this. And I thought, you know what? If we did do something that caused them to lose $50,000 and it was really our fault, and they could show it and it was legitimate and it was our negligence, I thought, I guess I would pay it. It was our fault. I just don't want to. But my integrity, who I am, I guess I would pay $50,000. Holy crap, I've never done this before in my life. But if I can legitimately see that it was really our fault and not just someone set a some high expectation, but literally we did something, I guess I would pay it. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to pay this. I would pay it if it was that. I thought, I just need to hear what happened. I don't even know what happened. So I just need to be open and ask all these questions so I can hear exactly what happened. Because if I'm going to pay $50,000, I better damn well understand the details and who said what and what happened. Because if I don't know those things, I'm never going to get to a point where I'll pay that $50,000. I'm never going to. Even if we legitimately should be paying it, I'm never going to get to a point if I can't listen to him. I thought, I have to listen to him really good. I have to listen to him really well and be able to ask really good questions. And like in that moment, I thought, yeah, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to have this conversation. And then something else popped up. And what I thought was, what are my partners going to think if I just write this check? They're not going to want to write this check. They're going to have to go through this whole process that I just went through. And I don't know if they're going to do that. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to tell them. I'm just going to do it. If this did happen, I thought, no, okay, I got to tell them. I got to be able to tell them. That's why I have to ask all these questions, because I got to be able to tell them. I got to be able to explain it and to justify it. And it was crazy. Like the minute I went through that, the minute I connected with my heart and found out what was real about Louie and how I operate, I thought, oh, this is going to be easy to do. I'm totally willing to acknowledge if we did something wrong. I have no ego in this. Then I just felt all this congruency and this empowerment of being able to have this conversation. But I want to tell you why that happened. Because our power to act, in our highest form and our highest capability is rooted in our authentic nature. When we act in our authenticity, we become a superhero, our best, our most ideal superhero of who we are. But when we are out of alignment with what's right, with with our integrity, with truth, with honesty, when we're out of alignment of those core values, it diminishes our power to act. It diminishes our power, our authentic power, therefore causes us not wanting to act. That makes sense? So you have to, in this business, because it's so emotionally driven, we have to be able to access that authentic power quickly. You have to be able to carve a path to it, When I was a kid, I grew up on a farm, and my grandfather had this woods behind our house, and he had these cows that he would let graze in the woods, and there was paths in the woods where these cows, where they walked. Like there was only the cattle never diverged really off the path unless there was a storm. Back in Indiana, we have these big thunderstorms, these big, terrible rainstorms, and, a tree might fall and then block the path, and then the cows would go around the path, and they would begin to forge a new path. And we have to be able to forge a path back to our heart and to why we're doing it. And we have to believe and know that when we act in integrity and in alignment with being true to what we said we would do, it's empowering. It's our biggest confidence booster that we can take. It's like it's like an energy drink for your confidence of aligning with truth. And in fact, I can't remember who said it, but they said that if honesty wasn't a principle or a virtue, the business world would have created it because it's so needed in order to operate with transparency. Honesty would be created as an invention in order for business, because business flows when there's transparency and when there's congruency. So when you're honest with who you are and you're following these principles, it creates a rapid path back to your core authentic nature and how you communicate. And regardless if you're going to lose money or not, regardless if it means you're not going to get a commission check for the month or not, you have to be true to the principle, not true to your needs. So I say that because I sat there and Sue left, and literally within about 3 minutes, I had all of those thoughts. And I thought, man, I'm ready to call David. I'm ready to make that call. I had the yellow sticky on my desk that Jamie had written his number on. And I'm like, I'm ready to make that call. And I picked up the phone and I started dialing his number, and I noticed my hand was shaking, and I stopped and my hand was like literally shaking. I'm like, man, I'm nervous. But I felt totally confident making the call, even though I didn't know what I was going to say. And it's not that I was great necessarily, that I thought I'll just make it up or whatever, but I just know that when I'm feeling in my heart and I'm authentic, what I say is powerful, even if it's not the right words. My tone and my body language, communication is 55% tone, 55% body language, 38% tone, and only 7% words. I know that my words matter, but not that much. My tone and my body language is what's going to communicate what I want. So I just pick up the phone and I start dialing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm scared. What am I even going to say? I don't even know. I thought, well, I don't know what it's going to say, but I'm curious to hear what comes out. And I pick up the phone, and David answers the phone. And just to note this, is that when you're in fight or flight mode, what happens? Tunnel vision, right? Shortness of breath, you're breathing shallow, and you're just laser focused. That tunnel vision just laser focus you. So your senses are really heightened because, historically you're supposed to save yourself from the saber-toothed tiger or whatever is out there. So your senses are really heightened. That's why in fight or flight mode, when you're in a car wreck or something or other, a dog attack or some, scary thing, they feel like they're in slow motion. Why they're in slow motion is because your senses are at their highest moment, and you realize everything does happen slow when my senses are at their highest point of they're capable of sensing what's going on. Life is in slow motion. And it just goes to show you that you are more powerful than you think you are, because when you're at your best and all this, it seems really slow, and you know exactly what to do. But when you're out of congruency, out of alignment, it feels slow, but it feels painful. But when you're in alignment, it's slow. And it's kind of like Spider-Man, where the kid punches him and he leans back and the guy throws the punches like, what is happening? Like, am I really are my senses really that good? That's what happens. So I make the call, and David picks up the phone. He goes, this is David. And I just said, hey, David, this is Louie with Vangaurd Title. How are you? And I literally heard him take a breath in, and it was loud, and it was just like, and it caught me so off guard, because it seemed like that's exactly what he did, just like, I thought, oh my gosh, why would he do that? And I thought, oh my gosh, he did that because he's about to yell at me. Like he took in this deep breath because he's about to unleash a strain of profanities that I've never heard of before. Only that Donnie might say. Just kidding. Anyway, but I'm like, he's going to say, you know, and immediately when I heard him take this breath in, I responded and just said, hey, David, before you say anything, it's important that you understand a few things so that we can navigate the situation properly. As I even said that, I thought, I didn't know what I'm saying. It was coming out. But it's coming out because I'm connected with who I am. Connected with my heart. And I just said, and he goes, okay, like that. And I said, first, I want you to know that I don't even know what's happening. I don't know why you called or what caused it. When Jamie told me that you called, I intentionally told her not to tell me because I didn't want to come into this conversation biasly. So just so you know, I have no idea what's going on because I just wanted to hear it from you. I said, number two, so I'm going to be asking you questions. So I'm going to need you to, if I ask you to pause so that I can ask a question, it is not to defend it because I don't even know what's happening. I could not possibly defend anything. So if I say, can you please pause for a moment? I got a question for you. I just want you to know I'm not trying to defend it. I am trying to learn what happened. So I might have to ask you a couple questions, but I don't want you to think I'm defending. Number three, I have a pen and a pad of paper in my hand right now, and I'm going to be taking notes. So I may ask you to pause just so I can write down some notes so I can catch up with what you're saying. Again, I'm doing this because I don't know what's going on. But the other reason why I'm writing down notes is because whatever happened, I am going to train every person that works for me and train the hell out of them so that this doesn't happen again because whatever happened must be significant. And I don't want this ever to happen again because it feels awful. Lastly, I want you to know is I have cleared my schedule so that whatever has happened, I am going to work on it immediately upon hanging up with you. I'm going to work on it until I get it fixed today. I have nothing on my schedule but this because I've cleared it before I called you. I have my pen in hand. I got my pad of paper in front of me. I'm ready to go. I'm listening. Go ahead. Tell me what happened. For about 5 to 7 seconds, there was not a word said. And I sat like this with my pen and paper. I sat like this, just going. And because he didn't say anything for about 5 seconds, I thought, oh my gosh, did the internet go down? Did I lose this call? Did he hang up? I'm like, this is awesome. If he hung up or if the internet went down, I was nervous and I looked over and the phone was still on and the time was ticking. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I just said, so let me just do this. I do this every time. But I want you to hear what 5 to 7 seconds of silence sounds like. Here we go. 5 to 7 seconds. It's a long time, especially in fight or flight mode. It felt like 4 minutes, those 5 to 7 seconds. I was so shocked he wasn't talking. I just said, I thought maybe my phone's on mute or something. I said, David, are you there? And he goes, wow. He goes, yeah, wow. Wow. I don't even know what to say. And then I know this, and you should know this if you don't know this, but in negotiating or in having this conversation, especially in sales, in a sales call especially, but also in this, is that the less you talk and the more they talk is you let them talk first. So I realized I wasn't going to try to prolong the conversation. I just let him think about it. Because I know when I'm in my heart and I'm just willing to do whatever's right, the other person, and I let them sit in that feeling that I have of I'm congruent, I'm here just to do whatever's right. I just want to get back to this mutual purpose that we've agreed on. I just want to be here. I just sit with the intention of I just want to be, and I just in my mind I hold this mantra of I just want to help you. I just want to accomplish this. I just want you to get what you want. That's all I want to do. I just want to help you. But I'm holding that thought, that mantra in my mind. So I sat there and he goes, I don't even know what to say right now. I just sat in silence. Again, for about another 5 to 7 seconds. And then he says, you know what? In 18 years of being in this industry, I have never in my life been treated like this. And he said it just like that. He's like, you know what? In 18 years, I have never in my life been treated like this. And he said it so confidently, I thought, wait, did I do something wrong? Did I say that wrong? Was I mean? What, like, and I thought and he said, and then a long pause. And again, I'm not talking, I'm just listening. And he goes, and you know what? I'm actually embarrassed that I called you. In fact, I know now that this was probably our fault. I'm okay. Actually, I'm okay. I'm just going to hang up. I'm good, Louie. Thank you for calling me back. I'm good. In my mind, I'm thinking, what is going on? 10 minutes ago, JB said this guy is not going to, let us close another deal. And what I failed to mention to you is that, our revenue on any title transaction, the average revenue that brings in to us as a title company is about $1,400. So where we do about 100 deals a month with this client, I just want you to understand why it was high stakes for me. 1.4 million at a minimum on an annual basis of revenue lost. That's not even included how it would affect maybe other relationships, who knows. So that's why that was so, of high stakes for me. Anyway, I'm sitting there thinking, what would he say? How could he possibly say that he is wrong when he was so upset? And I just said, David, I just aligned with him. I said, David, I agree with you. I said, I guess I agree with you that maybe it is, maybe something happened. I don't know what happened, but would you mind just at least before you, hang up, would you mind just at least sharing with me what happened so that I could understand? Because it may not have been all your fault. I just want to know, would you at least share with me what happened? And then I said, and then also why do you think it's your fault? Why do you think that is? And he goes, well, first off, before I tell you what happened, he goes, I can tell you right now, the funder who did this deal, I've worked with her for about 13 years, and she can sometimes just be a total BI. And I bet you what she did was she got upset because something didn't happen. She called up your escrow officer, yelled at them, did this, did that. And then that's how he starts telling me what happened, is by blaming his employee. And I'm just shocked. So as he explains it, he just says, yeah, that's probably what happened. I'm pretty sure. He goes, you know what? Don't worry about it. I will get this resolved. Let me fix it. I'll talk to her, and then I'll talk to whoever from your company's working on this. He's like, I got it. And I was just shocked. But I couldn't believe that's how that ended. At least that conversation. Well, so before he hung up, in my mind, I thought, if he's going to have a conversation with that funder, and again, now that I'm rooted in mutual purpose and how do we get there, the first thing that came to my mind was, what will be hard for him to keep his mutual purpose? Obviously, he just explained that this funder can sometimes be, aggressive and mean and whatever. So then I said to him, hey, David, what would it look like if I called, let's just say her name was Julie. I said, David, what would it look like if I called Julie and had a similar conversation with her that I just had with you? His response was, oh my gosh, why would you do that? She is so mean. I said, well, I don't know. Maybe she's not as mean as you think she is. Maybe there's something we can learn from this. He goes, and I said, and what would happen if I told her that you wanted me to call her to find out what happened so we can get this resolved quickly? He goes, dude, that would be awesome. Are you serious? You're willing to do that? I said, yeah. He's like, okay, let me give you her number. And he gives me her number. Well, I call Julie and I say nearly the same thing I said to him. And I thought, what did I say? I thought, because that sounded really good when I said it to David. So I just called Julie. I said, hey, Julie, David wanted me to call you. I just talked to David. apparently he said that, all right, just talk to David. He said that you guys have had some trouble on a file. And he doesn't know all the details, and I don't know all the details because I didn't ask anybody because I didn't want a biased opinion from anybody in my organization. So can you tell me what's happening? And just so you know, and I just said the same thing. I'm listening, I'm taking notes. If I ask you a question, it's not because I'm trying to point the finger. I just want to know what happened. Julie, can you tell me what went on? No lie. The identical response. She said, there was a long pause and she goes, Louie, let me just be honest with you. This was my fault. I'm going to tell you what happened. Your escrow officer had been on vacation. I called the assistant and I got abrupt with them and I said this and blah, 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 blah. This is all my fault. Please do not even bring this up. I will take care of it. Please don't even tell your people that you called me or that we talked. Can you just allow me to fix it? Literally, that's what she said. And so what I tell you that story because one, it was pretty profound to me. It was one of the most significant, like the epitome, the perfect example of what it means when you focus on bringing this, when you focus on bringing back safety, and then you help them to carve a path back to achieving the mutual purpose. So I say this to everybody. There aren't mean people. There are just unsafe people. I want you to think about this. Anytime you have been mean, where you've yelled at somebody, and you've gotten mad at somebody, and you've just like unleashed on them, in your heart, did you think, yeah, I'm a mean person? Or did you think you were just frustrated? If you're a man, you said you were frustrated because you didn't want to say you were scared. You say, yeah, I was just super frustrated. I was stressed. That's what we say. I was stressed. And so I just unloaded. And then once I said, bro, don't get mad at me. And we, punch each other in the shoulder and then we were okay. Right. But the other person would see you as a total jerk, a total, just the meanest person in the world. So, because we often will see ourselves with the element of an excuse or a reason or a justification. And then we often see the other person as a mean person. They weren't paying attention. They're just trying to be disruptive. They just want to make me look bad. And we see them in a bad light. And why we see them in a bad light is because we feel unsafe and we don't want to have the conversation. And the only way that we can come back to achieving that mutual purpose, or a reason why that mutual purpose didn't get achieved, isn't because you're the jerk, isn't because you wouldn't allow it to happen, it's because they were, and you did your best. And that's the conflict. And they see you in the exact same way. But the minute that you can open up and be vulnerable, and vulnerable means a willingness to expose your weakness. That's how I explain it. A willingness to expose your weakness for the chance to grow stronger together. You can either remain in that weak state, in that defensive state, in that scared state, and that scarcity state, or you can be and choose to be in a moment of vulnerability and take a risk in achieving something greater together by owning what happened. That makes sense? And because you're the leader in this transaction, well then you need to lead out. You're not just the leader in finding the house, or you're not just the leader in writing the contract. You're the emotional leader of the transaction. You determine where everybody goes emotionally. And why you become frustrated is because your ability to influence other people's emotional response is marginalized because you don't love them. Because you can't influence anybody that you don't love and care about. Watch. Who are the top 2 people that influence you in your life, in your business? Who are 2 people that really influence your business? Do you think they love you? Yeah, you do. So I want you to know this. Would that person who influenced you at a high level, would they ever yell at you and call you a name and justify why you're a dumbass? Or what, would they do any of those things? They wouldn't do it. Because you trust them. Because they know that you want to get to a certain purpose, to a certain goal in your life. So I want you to think about this. When you want to respond in this anger and this frustration and this, whatever it is, I want you to think about this. Would you be influenced that way by that person if they responded like that to you? You wouldn't. Not in a positive way. But when we get into fight or flight mode, we think that shit works, and it just doesn't. It doesn't work. That makes sense. So, and the key to all of this is really you setting the real expectations of how this transaction is going to go in your own head. And to not wear these rose-colored glasses of how this transaction is going to go. You guys, how many of you have watched Charlie Brown, the Peanuts, the cartoon? How many of you guys know how Charlie Brown, what's his relationship with Lucy and the football, right? Every year, Lucy's like, "Hey, Charlie Brown," she holds the football up, "Come kick it." And every year, what does she do? She pulls it out. And it goes flying up in the air. And she's saying, "You fell for it again, Chuck." And she's laughing her head off. You guys do the same thing. We often do. I do it too. So I'm not, but we do the same thing in every transaction. We're like, this one's going to be amazing. It's going to be flawless. There's no problems. It's going to be amazing. They're going to love me. They're going to say you're the best agent in the world. You should be on, in the New York Times for how good of an agent you are. You're just awesome. We go into this with these expectations, and we know that's just not the reality of it. But we do it. Why? Do you know why we do it? We do it because that's how we create safety. Because we don't want to go in that shit again. Do you guys see this? We don't want to go in that again. We do it to create safety. So it starts with you. It starts with you in saying, I am going to go into this deal, into this transaction, knowing that I just thought of this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to write down a list of almost like affirmations of what you should go through in every transaction. I know this transaction can blow up at any time. Somebody can be mad at me at any time. And I know all these things. And you say that in every transaction. You're like, and I know when they do that, all I'm here to do is to create safety, is to do this and to remember that I am this, and to remember that I can do this, and to remember that when I focus, and that's all you say every day with every transaction. And if you went in with that mantra on every transaction, every day, then you would know when something goes wrong, you're like, dude, I prepared for this. I'm here. That's why you want me. That's why I'm on your team. That's why I'm the real estate agent. And you should say, and in your mind, when something, the appraisal comes back bad, or the home inspection comes back bad, you should be thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to be so glad they picked me as their agent, because no one can deal with this situation better than me. And you should call them up and go, hey, Donnie, I just want to tell you, the appraisal came back $20,000 less, and I'm so happy that I'm your agent. And they're like, what are you talking about? Isn't that bad? Yeah, it's bad, but you are going to be so happy that you picked me, because this is my specialty. I got you on this. We're going to walk through this like nobody else. I'm so glad you picked me, actually, because I'm really good at this. And I want to tell you that if I were you, I would be scared. If I were you, I'd be nervous, like, what are we gonna do with this? I'd have all these questions if I were you, because dude, $20,000 going from selling the house from 600 to, 580, and knowing that you're getting $20,000 less, dude, that is a big hit to what your plans are and where you want to go with this money this equity that you have. So I get that. Imagine you're telling them what they were planning about this equity. You're repeating back to them, you're affirming back to them what they had told you prior, because you set up the expectations. And you're like, and nobody's more adept at handling these situations than me. So I just wanted to tell you right off the bat, the second I saw that appraisal, I didn't want 1 minute to go by, because I know that can mess with your mindset. And what I'm gonna do is I'm here to protect your mindset in this transaction, because it is high stakes, it's highly emotional, and there's a lot of risk in all of this. So I'm here for you. So let me tell you what I'm thinking about. I got a couple things I want to do first, but I don't want time to pass for you to see that and for any minute to pass. But give me just a few minutes. I'm gonna need actually about an hour and a half. I want to call some people. I'm gonna start getting my ducks lined up in a row. And when I have a clear picture of how we're gonna approach this situation, I'm gonna call you back, and then I'm gonna tell you what that is, and we're gonna walk through this thing together. That makes sense? I mean, imagine just what I just said to you. Donna, you know this, right? Like, if I had called you and said that, and you were the seller, just in that tone and just saying it with that confidence, I can't imagine a seller hearing that would say, what do you mean? What is it? It's like, dude, it sounds like you got it. So you understand me? You know why I need the equity? You got it? It sounds like, dude, okay, call me back. See you later, bye. They're going to get off the phone. Don't even waste my time. They're going to want to get off the phone with you. Few people can do that, because they don't set up the transaction to fail the relationship, or they don't set up the relationship for success in the beginning. Make sense? So that is how to have a difficult conversation. It's how to walk through a storm with your client, and how to do it confidently and congruently and authentically with your greatest abilities. And I'm telling you guys, when you're in your highest mode of authenticity, that's your superpower. And when you're in your superpower, it doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter. Even the Avengers, right? Even the Avengers, when they lost, they just said, but we came together and we gave it our best shot. It wasn't about whether they win or lost, right? Captain America says, then we'll lose together, but we'll do that together. And we'll do it, and we'll know that we lost being together and we did our best. And when you lose and you did your best, you don't care. I guarantee you, when you lose a transaction and you know you did your best, you don't care, because what you gained by putting forth your best, what you learned through that transaction by giving it your all, and what you discovered about yourself, that's what you're most proud of. That's what you're most happy about. And that brings more confidence. And what you know then is, you know what, this one deal failed back, the next 20, they're gonna go so much better, because I figured this out. And that's what gives you confidence to walk through any real estate storm, even the one that we're in this very moment. Make sense? Any questions? Yeah, I like what Ryan said. This applies to every relationship. Anybody have any questions?
Can I just make a comment real quick, Louie?
Yeah.
So guys, what he's talking about, I would focus on building your relationship with the lender and with Brooke and with like everyone who's in the process, and Brooke's staff. Take time and actually go and build that relationship. Even Dallas, sometimes it's fun to hang out with Dallas. But just
Sometimes.
really take the time and build the relationship and make sure it's genuine. There's a lot of times where I'll call Brooke and I'll just be like, Brooke, I'm just venting. I need to vent with someone. And because I have a relationship with Brooke, she knows that what I'm about to say probably has a ton of emotion to it and it doesn't matter. And at the end of the conversation, she'll say, okay, what's the solution that you've come up with? And then it comes all the way back around. But I have a good enough relationship with her that she understands that I'm venting. I'm sure you've heard her joke around. She jokes around that like I'm her younger brother. Like that's where our relationship is. We care about each other, but it's genuine. But it will help you through every transaction if you have those relationships with every moving piece, not just your client.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Anybody else?
The other thing I would say to follow up on what Louie's saying is when we have interactions for the first time with our clients or even throughout the process, set the tone, think about everything that is going to potentially come up in that transaction and set that tone first meeting. We're going to have an inspection. Negative things are going to be on it. That's okay. This is what we do with it. You know, these are the scenarios that can happen with the appraisal. Just everything that could possibly come up, set the tone that we're going to be having those conversations, and it's going to happen. And if it doesn't, then we got extremely lucky. You know, however you want to word that. But just if you put that out front and then also set the tone on how often we're going to follow up throughout this transaction. If you say, hey, I'm going to call you every 3 days just to check in, you're not going to get hounded with phone calls. You're going to look like the professional always, and you're going to put out 90% of your fires day one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Donnie or Jen, anything you guys want to say?
Those guys said some good stuff already. I mean, the main thing is just everything you said is so relevant, right? Like I know if I look at all the transactions I've done and I didn't do all the stuff you talked about, it's always just, it can be a bad situation, you know, and every time I've been my best self, authentic, I you know, set the expectation through the whole process. It was just always it's always a good situation. So, I mean, this is all super important, especially right now. Crucial conversations is super important, especially because what's going on in the world, everybody's already unsafe. So the better we are at being able to converse with people is going to be huge.
Yeah.
I was just going to say exactly what Steve said. I agree 100%. You know, when you go into a transaction, you want to explain everything up front, but I also do it a little bit in a different way where when it comes up to a certain part in a transaction, like buyer due diligence, I'll say, this is how it's going to go. There's two ways. Either we're going to get an inspection report and it's going to have a ton of different things on it, like this, 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 and this, or you get your inspection report, you just see it as, you know, a list of things that you may have to fix later on, and you can request anything that's big, like a roof repair or water damage. But that's basically what's going to come up. So that way I have that expectation set before it happens. That way when it does happen, I can say, see, this is what we already discussed. I said it would go this way or this way. So now we're seeing that it's this, and this is how we're going to handle it. So I kind of set it up in the beginning whenever I talk to any client.
Perfect. Perfect.
Another thing, real quick, that you said, Louie, was you essentially set the expectation of the relationship up front, not just the transaction, but the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I think is huge because those are two completely different things. If you can set the expectation of the relationship is that you care about this person, it's going to go a lot further than when's the last time you went to a car dealership and the salesperson cared about you, or did he care about the transaction? He cared about the transaction. So if you can set the tone for the relationship that you care about that person and not what they're purchasing and not your commissions, it's going to go a lot further and become a lot more genuine.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. That's exactly right. I think setting up how you're going to communicate and how you navigate, difficult situations. I mean, think of the ease that it gives you, that you're like, wow, you already feel better about talking to that person because you know how they're going to respond and how they're going to see you. You know what I mean? There's certain people that when you have a problem with them or in a situation, it's really easy for you to go to them and to talk to them about what's going on, because there's that safety built in. You've done it enough of times with them, and you know how you communicate. Like, I can tell that person anything, and they're not going to judge me. They're not going to come unglued, even if I did something that wasn't to their benefit, or that I kind of, I messed up their schedule for the day or whatever. They're going to understand me. And it's easy to go to them because you've established a pattern of how to do that. And if you're meeting this person for the first time and they're in their most, their highest, their biggest financial decision of their life, and, their retirement, because they've spent all their life paying down this house to get so much equity to finally buy the thing they've always wanted, it's important to establish that communication, and to assume that they know how to communicate is not a good idea. Because most people don't. And to remember that nobody is mean. They're only people whose needs are not met. Their needs are not getting met in an unsafe way. And it puts them in this fight or flight mode. They feel like they have to fight to get what they want. Because if the person cared about them and loved them, then what they want, they would get in a safe way. Now it's unsafe, and they don't understand me. Now I gotta give this, I gotta call this agent and read him the riot act because he doesn't get me. So you gotta establish that first off. It's super important. Make sense?
And guys, too, one thing, if you guys really implement everything Louie talked about, because if you guys want to get your contract to close ratio way up, this is going to help you avoid all the obstacles that come up through transactions that kill a deal. So this is a good way to get that contract to close ratio up. And one more thing too, Louie was kind enough to record this for us, and he's going to get me a copy that I'm going to put up on our team's channel later. So make sure you guys, even if you already watched it live right now, make sure you guys go back and watch it again, reference it, make notes, because this is the kind of content that you just can't get enough of, right? So,
hey, Donnie, what I'll do as well is I'm going to send you the link for just the audio, so you can download the audio. Then it could be something you can just listen to. You're like, oh yeah, that's it. I got to listen to that again.
I like
So
that.
it's not something you have to actually watch, but that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. If you'll do me a favor too, I don't know if everybody has my email, but what I'd like to hear from each of you is just what was good about today? What was your biggest aha? And what would you want to know more about if we were to have a second round? If we were to come back and say, we got another hour to be in this, what would you want to know more about? Make sense? So just those two things. What was your aha? And then what you want, what would you want to know more about because of this conversation today? All right. Somebody, more diffusing questions to ask. Ryan, give me just one example. What would that be?
So your example, when you heard the guy take a deep breath, you're preparing yourself. I guess one of the things I'd like to know about is more examples of diffusing questions that bring people out of fight or flight. Because I think honestly that's probably the hardest part to be good at.
Yeah, I get you. Makes sense. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks so much. It's awesome to be with you and to talk about this. I love it. So good. Okay. See you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, Louie. I appreciate it.
See ya.
Have a good one. See ya.
Yep.